The New York Mets, they wrapped up their London series with the Phillies on Sunday with a 6-5 victory. So let's recap the weekend series and look ahead at what is next for the Metropolitans with New York Post Mets beat reporter Mike Puma, who joins me now from London. Mike, how you doing?
Dexter, I'm well.
I'm glad you're well. Looking good across the pond. Had a good time with the London series. And Mike, the Mets in this game on Sunday, they were down 3-0. They rallied back in the sixth inning and eventually took the lead and held on to win. Considering everything that went on with this team in May, along with losing the first game of the series, do you view this as a big win for the ball club, or at least one that can spark them towards saving their season?
Yeah, and Brandon Nimmo was kind of asked a question along those lines after the game, and he said he didn't look at it as much as a spark as it is a continuation of the team playing well, because he really feels things turned around with the 3-game sweep in Washington before the Mets came here to London. So, they were able to split here. Listen, they've played better over the last few weeks. Maybe the win-loss record hasn't shown it, but the big thing is the lineup has come around. They're averaging about 5 runs a game since May 18th, and that's a big improvement. The thing is, they have to get that bullpen in order if they're going to be able to make any kind of run toward at least 500.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the bullpen and the pitching just in a bit. And you knew this before Sunday's game. Mets owner Steve Cohen, he spoke to the media, and he said this. He said, quote, "The decision-making that is going on with the Mets is a lot sharper than it's been in the past." Now, some fans are going to hear that and say it doesn't add up to their recent results with this team. What did you make of Cohen's comment and also his overall message? And he was pretty optimistic about the team, right? What did you make about everything that he had to say on Sunday before the game?
Yeah, in that comment, one guy he specifically pointed out was Luis Torrens, who had the big play, double play at the end of the game to seal the win today for the Mets. And just the fact that David Stearns went out cost $100,000 to get Torrens, and here he is contributing to a couple of wins. And I think Cohen's point was, hey, that's a good value if you can not spend a lot of money on a guy. And, I think Torrens is probably going to stick here as the backup now. But even if he didn't, here you went out and got a guy who helped you win a couple of games. And I think that's what he was referring to was some of the little moves. Now, the big free agency moves, some of them have worked. Not that there were any huge contracts in the offseason, but, you look at a guy like Severino, who's worked out for them. Sean Manaea's worked out for him. And, I think Cohen's comment was basically, hey, we've made some pretty good moves here.
Yeah, and we'll see how those moves continue to pan out, especially the value moves that you just mentioned and moves that have worked for them. Got to ask you this. Despite the win, the Mets had another starter not give them innings. Jose Quintana on Sunday only goes 3 2/3 innings, and the bullpen, they struggled once again. You mentioned this, Mike. Mike, is the bullpen cooked right now? And in the short term, how can the Mets fix the issues of their starters not giving them length?
Well, they really got to take a long look at Quintana here, because he's been a sore thumb for much of the season here. He's got an ERA over 5. It crept up a little bit more today, and he hasn't been giving them the length. And Manaea's been good overall, but he's had two rough starts in a row. But I think you take a long look at Quintana, and you have to wonder, especially with a kid like Christian Scott, who came up from Syracuse and pitched well. Now he's back down there. Jose Budo pitched well for the Mets when he came up from Syracuse. This is part of the evaluation David Stearns has been doing throughout the season. He's shown he's not afraid to unload a veteran player who's not performing. We saw that, with guys like Joey Wendell and Omar Narvaez. So we'll see with Quintana. He could be on a short leash here.
It could be. Has not pitched very well lately for the Mets at all. Last thing for me here, Mike. I think you would agree with me on this. The Mets, they're going to be thrilled to get this split that they got in London. But looking ahead this week, what should be the expectations returning to Citi Field for 3 games with the Marlins and then 3 with the Padres? Seems like this would be an important part of their season right here over these next 6 games. What should fans expect to see from the Mets over these next 6 games?
Yeah, and, they got to be careful with the Marlins because they went, the Mets went down to Miami last month thinking, hey, they were facing the worst team in baseball at the time. And the Marlins won 2 out of the 3 games down there. But at the same time, I kind of look at that weekend as where the Mets started turning it around, at least offensively, because, that's where Carlos Mendoza shook up the lineup a little bit, moved Francisco Lindor into the leadoff. And, the Mets had a hitters meeting that day where they started taking more accountability for their individual at-bats. So, it was with that Marlins series that the offensive turnaround, I think, really started. But, this is a bad Marlins team they're going to be facing, and you got to go in there. You got to go to Citi Field looking to sweep, at the very least win a series, and then make some hay against the Padres, too, because we're into June here, and if the Mets are – and it's a point where if they're going to keep this team together and try and make a run for the playoffs, it's these next few weeks that they've got to put it together.
Yeah, very crucial stretch for the Mets. It could get late early, and we'll see what they're able to do this week against the Marlins and the Padres. That is Mike Puma, New York Post Mets beat reporter, out in London across the pond, taking some time to talk to us. Mike, enjoy the rest of your time in London. Safe travels back, and we'll talk soon, my friend. Thank you.
Okay, take care, Dexter.